Introduction Cluster Webinar entitled Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Development in Sumba Island, Indonesia. My name is Yuda Prambudia and I will be your moderator today. And as a moderator, I will start with some gentle reminder of how we participate in this seminar. So maybe Nadia can help me with some rules. Nadia?
Yes, Pak Yuda, there is some technical error. Please wait a minute.
Okay. And while we are waiting, participants can access the attendance link on the chat box of Zoom. Yeah. Here are the participant rules. So please rename your account to name institution. For example, Abdul, PTL, BPPT. Participant, please fill in the attendance form provided on the chat box. Participants are not allowed to turn on the microphone and camera during the speaker's presentations. Write down your question in the chat box, or if you are accessing this webinar from YouTube, you can also drop down your questions on the YouTube live chat. With format Q for questions, and then speaker's name, your name and your institutions, and then your questions. The questions can be written in Bahasa Indonesia and also in English. Speaker presentation materials are available on the following link. And today we will have 3 speakers presenting their research and 2 discussions. The webinar will follow the following rundown. It's the general ones. First, we will have a welcoming remark from the director of RDI, and then followed by a presentation from the 3 speakers, and then discussion session with our 2 discussions. And after that, the discussion session will invite the audience to participate, to ask some questions. So let's have our welcoming remark from the director of RDI, Ibu Elizabeth. Screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Yuda, for the opportunity. Welcome everyone to our webinar on rural electrification and renewable energy development in Sumba. So this webinar is the result from our project under CRESUM HIRES, funded by EPSRC from UK British Research Council. So we are very grateful for the opportunity, and also we also have here Professor John Lovett, who is the principal investigator. And as Pak Yuda has mentioned before, we have a presenter from that is focusing on Sumba Iconic Island. And not only that, by the end of the presentation, we have the initiator of Sumba Iconic Island, Ibu Maya, and also Dr. Adi, who is managing the regional planning in Sumba. So, well, this discussion I foresee will be very lively and will be very up to date. So yes, please type in any question that you have and join the discussion. So again, back to you, Pak Yuda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibu Elizabeth, for your welcoming speech. And now let's introduce our speakers and discussants today. Nadia, could you show the speakers and discussion brief resume?
Okay, Pak. Wait a minute.
Yes. So we will start with Dr. Cheng Wen's research. Dr. Cheng Wen is from the School of Geography, University of Leeds. He is currently research fellow at University of Leeds, which expert in some areas such as environmental economics, non-market valuation, payment for ecosystem services, visual impacts of wind turbines, and energy access in developing countries. For example, mini-grids and biogas. He finished undergraduate and master's study in environmental science in Wuhan University, China. The second speaker is a PhD candidate Hafiz Wibisono from the School of Geography, University of Leeds. Hafiz Wibisono has become a lecturer since 2017 and a researcher at the Department of Development Geography, Faculty of Geography, Gajah Mada University in Yogyakarta. In 2019, Hafiz has been registered as a doctoral student in the School of Geography, University of Leeds, UK. He has interest in decision-making process regards to development issues in the archipelago field. The last speaker is Dr. Niken Prilandita. She is the lecturer of School of Architecture, Planning and Policy Development in ITB Bandung. Dr. Niken Prilandita is a lecturer and researcher from Urban Planning and Design Research Group of Urban and Regional Planning Department in Institute of Technology Bandung. Niken has a multidisciplinary interest research regarding urban planning, urban heat island, energy and environmental management and policy, stakeholder decision processes, etc. Next is our two discussion. We have, next slide, please. Dr. Adipapa Pandaranga is the head of Program Evaluation and Planning Subdivision in Bapeda East Sumba. Adipapa Pandaranga is the head of Program Evaluation and Planning Subdivision in Bapeda East Sumba. He has interest in research in construction and infrastructure management, construction supply chain management, and development studies. Bapak Adi is also a senior research fellow in RDI. Our next discussion is Ms. Laila Himayati. She is the collaboration and networking lead Mentari program Yayasan HIFOS. She is also the leader of collaborating and networking strand at Mentari. She worked closely with the government of Indonesia and other stakeholders to improve the enabling environment and also to demonstrate the possibility of low carbon energy for Indonesia economic development, job creation, and social inclusion, while helping to mitigate climate and environmental effects. So we have three speakers and two discussions today. And without further ado, let's have our first speaker today, Dr. Cheng Wen. If you move to our second speaker. Okay. Pak Hafid, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready. And the presentation will be shared by the host, I think.
Okay. Please, Bu Nadia, I think you can start the presentation. Pak Hafiz presentation.
Yes, Martha, the Zoom host, Pak, will help us. Please, Martha.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better only the host, yeah, because then it will be more secure, hopefully.
Please wait a bit. I'm going to stay now. Sorry. Wait, people.
Hi,
Okay,
okay.
Pak Hafiz, you have 15 minutes for your presentation, yeah?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So
it's
good
yours.
evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone in Indonesia, and morning from the UK. So I'm Hafiz from the School of Geography. Feeling grateful to be able to represent our team in presenting our research. So this research is carried out collaboratively with our partner in Wirawacana University in Sumba, Ibu Siti Suryani. Thank you very much for all your valuable contributions. So today today's talk is about what is expected from the electricity and what is actually perceived by the community. So I'm aware that some of the participants are from Indonesia, so I'll try my best to do the presentation into language. Ya, perkenalkan saya Hafiz dari University of Leeds dan riset ini merupakan riset kolaborasi dengan Ibu Yani dari Universitas Wirawacana di Sumba. Nah, secara umum kali ini saya akan mempresentasikan tentang apa sih yang di-expect, apa sih yang diharapkan dari listrik terhadap masyarakat dan apa yang sebenarnya masyarakat perceive, apa yang sebenarnya masyarakat lihat dari listrik itu sendiri. So it's gotta be a comparison between what electricity means from the provider's view and from the community's view. Next. So I would like to start with the fact that international organization has invested so much in establishing electricity connection across the world in 2019. There are 206 billion US dollar. So I'm not sure how to convert it in rupiah, but it's very much. Jadi tahun 2019 ini ada 206 miliar US dollar yang digelontorkan untuk membangun listrik, untuk membangun koneksi khususnya di daerah-daerah yang belum terkoneksi. So the question is why? Why they have spent so much money on electricity? Why should electricity? Kenapa harus listrik? Next. One of the reasons is, in a global level, electricity is believed as a symbol of development, as it can makes our life much easier and more productive as well. Therefore, no electricity or non-electrified region is underdeveloped. Jadi secara internasional kita menganggap, banyak orang menganggap bahwa listrik itu adalah simbol dari pembangunan. Jadi kalau tidak ada listrik maka tidak terbangun. Whereas in local level, from the perspective of villager, the electricity might have different meaning according to their value and norms constructed by their beliefs. Despite not specifically defining electricity, but the value and norms may influence how they perceive electricity and how they use it. Di sisi lain, masyarakat desa itu melihat listrik itu sebagai sesuatu yang lain dari kita orang kota, orang-orang yang di internasional ini, karena mereka memiliki value, karena mereka memiliki nilai-nilai sendiri berdasarkan kepercayaan mereka. Gitu. Misalkan di Sumba ada kepercayaan Marapu, itu mungkin sedikit atau banyak mempengaruhi bagaimana mereka mempersepsikan tentang listrik dan bagaimana mereka menggunakan listrik itu sendiri. Next. As I mentioned earlier, this research is about how the villagers, how the beneficiaries perceive the electricity and to what extent that they match with the provider's expectation. Riset ini untuk menjawab bagaimana penerima manfaat atau masyarakat desa ini melihat, mempersepsikan apa yang aktor-aktor pembangunan seperti pemerintah, NGO, dan other actors ingin mereka lihat gitu. Apa yang di-expect dari mereka. Sehingga tujuan dari penelitian ini adalah membandingkan apa yang bagaimana ekspektasi pihak-pihak providers, bagaimana ekspektasi orang-orang yang memiliki project dengan bagaimana ekspektasi atau bagaimana yang diterima oleh masyarakat desa. So the aim of this research is just comparing the expected and the perceived benefit of electricity, especially in Sumba village. Next. So in doing so, we visited 7 villages in which electricity is supplied by the self-managed off-grid power plant. Why the self-managed off-grid is not a hybrid off-grid? it's the completely self-managed by the community. Because in such power plant, the expectation for community is much higher because they have to afford the operation and maintenance by themselves. Jadi 7 desa ini yang dikunjungi adalah yang memiliki power plant yang benar-benar dikelola sendiri. Kenapa? Karena jika mereka mengelola sendiri, maka ekspektasinya akan lebih besar. Mereka harus membayar, mereka harus mengoperasikan sendiri, mereka harus maintenance sendiri, seperti itu. We also interviewed 5 groups of providers, including provincial governments, municipal governments, NGO, including HIVOS and IBK, and the local NGOs. So, jadi ada 5 providers yang kita group of provider, karena interviewnya ini nggak satu lawan satu, karena kadang a group of people. Itu ada IBK, HIVOS, pemerintah provinsi, pemerintah kabupaten, NGO lokal, dan ya sekitar 5. And lastly, 11 village actors, including priest, activist, head of village, and operator. Dan 11 beneficiaries meliputi aktor-aktor di desa, seperti misalnya ada Bapak Ibu Pendeta, ada aktivis-aktivis di desa, kepala desa, dan operator-operator power plant. Next. Lalu apa sih metodologi yang kita gunakan? So what the method that we used? So we employ the methodology called fuzzy cognitive mapping. Metodologi namanya fuzzy cognitive mapping. It is simply to make a graph or how people think in form of causal relationship between variables. This is done to obtain a comparable diagram and make a belief-based model accordingly. Jadi kita melakukan ini karena untuk mendapatkan diagram yang bisa dibandingkan. Karena memang tujuannya untuk membandingkan antara yang difikirkan oleh provider dan difikirkan oleh masyarakat. Sehingga kita harus memiliki sesuatu yang bisa dibandingkan. Nah, the FCM method memungkinkan kita untuk melakukan itu. Gitu. Next. So this is just how it works. We started with the interview. We asked the interview the informants, what do you think about electricity? What variables you have in mind when I say electricity, and how those variables are connected to each other? So they will explain as much as they can, and I ask like a triggering question in order to clarify or to dig deeper about the answer. And I did a coding, develop a matrix, and the analysis of the FCM using the mentalmodeler.com. Jadi hanya kita interview, lalu di coding, dilihat poin-poin penting, dan bikin matriks, lalu bisa pakai FCM analysis dari mentalmodeler.com. Next. And these are the diagram. So it's a bit complicated to see in detail, but generally speaking, it is clearly observed that the provider's map has more variable and connection. Hence, it is like more complicated compared to the beneficiaries. Yeah, that's all. So we just have to see the general complicatedness of the diagram. Because of more variables and more connection, it means that it's more complicated. And next. Okay, so the providers think, pihak-pihak yang memberikan project itu, mereka berpikir beberapa poin. So there are several variables, several things that they think. We think that they think. Firstly, the provider has more variables, which means that they think the electricity can influence more aspect than what the beneficiaries think. So it's 29 compared to 25 in the total variable. And those aspects are interconnected each other. See the total connection? This means that one thing that is influenced by the electricity can generate influence to other variables, so that it becomes a relatively like a longer chain. So for example, the electricity influence the productivity, and it increase the income, and it also influence the gender equality and so on. Whereas the beneficiary sees the electricity in a more straightforward. It just the electricity enables them to do some appliances so they can be productive. That's it. So it's more simple the way the beneficiaries think. Lastly, the smaller number of receiver, see the number of receiver, is 3 for the providers and 5 for the beneficiaries. It is indicating that the providers formulate a limited ultimate goals. So they have more concise goals, such as the quality of life, the village economy, for example. Whereas on the other side, the beneficiaries think some benefit as the ultimate goals, like the use of appliances, for example. They think the use of fridge, that's the ultimate goal. So it's going to be a difference. It is a different on how to see the ultimate goal of the electricity. Next. Okay, so this diagram is about the degree of centrality. The bigger value it has, the more central it is. So for example, some variable has a certain value. The bigger the value, it means that this variable has the more central in terms of influence. So in the benefit, so we're just comparing the which one is the most central variable according to the beneficiaries and the provider's perspective. So we can see that there are some difference in how beneficiaries and providers see which variable are more central. The provider expects a lot from the existence of small business, especially in generating village economy. So you can see that the black bar that is a bit that I square it in the red, inside the red square, a high black bar compared to the small amounts of blue bars over there. It's a small business. So it means that the provider expects the small business get benefit from the existence of electricity. Whereas on the other side, the beneficiaries, the communities in general, they think that lighting is the most central variable, because of the lighting can enables them to do many things at night. So previously they're just sleeping at night, and now they can do many things at night. So how could that happen? So next. How could that happen? There are two things that I want to emphasize. Next, please. Oh, no, it's just a different slide. So before that, so we just do modeling based on the beneficiary's cognitive map. So what would happen if unlimited connection is available? We also did some, it's a belief-based model in order to see what will happen what will happen with the beneficiaries if the unlimited connection is available. We just simply increase the value of lighting and the use of appliances variable, and assuming those variable will be the most benefited from the existence of such connection. The result in beneficiaries concept, like you see in the slide, the highest value is just productivity, entertainment, social media, and community cohesion. Where the value of small business and more income variable is not as big as that variable. So what will happen to the beneficiary if more connection is supplied? They might consume more entertainment, spend time in social media, having a more community cohesion, and more productive. I mean, without a significant influence on the income and the small business. So why could that happen? Next. Kenapa sih bisa terjadi seperti ini? So there are two things that I want to emphasize here. Firstly, the different worldview.
You have about 5 minutes, yeah?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
okay.
I'm aware with it. Thank you. So we argue that 2 points need to be highlighted here. Firstly, the different worldview between two parties. Our analysis captured this causality and found that the providers have a common understanding that the electricity is a trigger of economy and hence a catalyst of prosperity. So some of providers said like question mark. So actually, electricity is just a tool, and our goal is the people economy. So actually, we want to improve the welfare of rural community and isolated area through the electricity. So the electricity is just a tool, and they believe that it is the prerequisite of development, of village development. Compared to the expectation, the perceived benefit of electricity is more straightforward because of their limited access to participate in a broader discussion and the educational background of the community as well. So they just when we ask the beneficiaries about electricity, lighting is the most mentioned variable. For example, one of our informants said that, what will you do if what did you do with the electricity? We asked them, and they said just for lighting, for children studying at night, watching TV, charging cell phone, and so on. So it's just like that. And the second point is this the subsistence economy that they are doing. This research just echo previous researcher who stated that expecting villagers, that is mostly on subsistence economy activity, to be a profit-minded entrepreneur is quite challenging. Plus, the Sumbanese are experiencing a high degree of uncertainty in terms of their economic activity because of the highly dependence on weather in agricultural, for example, high demand of livestock for the customary ceremonies, for adat upacara adat. So they do have a risk sharing mechanism to overcome this problem, but it makes them a survival minded. It makes them not a capitalist. So yeah, it's not about good or bad. So because the mechanism is working well, so it just make them not capitalistic. So that's it. So what they are expected what they are expected by the providers to be an entrepreneur, to establish a small business, is not as significant because they still have like a survival minded in mind. So yeah, and that's it. So just want to end this presentation with a conclusion. Next. So there are three things that we can conclude here, comparing the expected and perceived benefit of electricity. Firstly, the electricity is expected to be influencing many variables in society that is interconnecting one another, whereas it is perceived by beneficiaries that are many variables are also influenced by the slightly less interconnection. And the second thing is electricity is expected to generate economic activities and more income for the communities, but it is actually perceived that there is an increasing number of productivity of the amount of time that is used for working, but no clear evidence of on the increase of household income or in general rural economy. And the third one is that electricity is expected to trigger capitalist entrepreneurs through the small business so that they can improve their income, but mostly still a survival entrepreneur. They have a survival minded in mind and do the entrepreneurship for their life. I mean, for their for their consumption daily, and rely mostly on agriculture. And that's all for today. And sorry for the imperfections. And I'm welcome for any questions. So here is my contact if you want to contact me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Hafiz Wibisono, for your interesting presentation. We will directly advance to our third speaker, Dr. Niken. Are you ready?
Yes, Pak Yuda.
Okay. whenever you're ready. The screen is yours.
Yeah, I think I gonna need help from the host also just to avoid some disturbances.
Yes,
Is it
I will
better? Yes.
share the screen. It's
Thank
visible
you.
now?
Yes,
Okay.
good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity given to me here. All of the speakers are talking about electricity in Sumba Island, including myself. And so on this occasion, I would like to present our study performed by me and then Dr. Saud Sagala and Alam Hasnan Habib and Danang Azhari. The title is Lessons Learned from Community-Based Renewable Energy Business Model in East Sumba, Indonesia. Next, please. So this is the study related with the Kerasum High-Res project also that explained by Dr. Chen previously. And we went there in 2019 and today's presentation is actually the continuation research from what we have found in 2019. The outline is straightforward, starting from introduction and up until result and conclusion. Next, please. So even though all of the speakers are talking about Isumba, maybe I just would like to highlight the electricity issue in Sumba and East Sumba, where nationally it is the province where the electrification ratio is the lowest in Indonesia, covering around 60% of the province. And actually, the government through the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has launched the project, the national project called Sumba Iconic Island since 2010, where the target is to electrify Sumba Island up until 100% by using renewable energy by 2025, and up to 2018 or 2017, I think this data shows that the electrification ratio in Sumba Island probably reach around 59%. And from our previous study in 2019, we found out that in Sumba Island, there are so many projects installing renewable energy from government, from PLN, also from international donors. They installed renewable energy system in communities in the village, and but we found out that there's still some issues regarding the agreed policy or structure governing, especially in the maintenance process. Why we focus on the maintenance process? Because usually this phase is the most sometimes it can ensure the sustainability of the project. Usually during planning and installment process goes smoothly, but the real challenges of these type of projects or development project is on the operational and maintenance phase. And some of the challenges including the different capabilities and qualities that each stakeholder possess. And so we would like to understand the role and its impact of each stakeholders in these villages where the renewable energy system is installed by looking at the business model, especially on the operation and maintenance phase, and also what kind of characteristic and lessons can be learned from the community itself. Next slide, please. Yes, so the aim of the study is that we would like to identify the lessons learned from renewable energy projects to enhance the community capacity in implementing the rural community-based renewable energy business model in Indonesia. The cases that we research here, there are 3 cases or 3 types of renewable energy systems investigated. The micro hydropower plant, small scale biogas, and solar water pump business or installment in 2 villages, namely Lukuwingir village and Waimbidi village. Both are located in East Sumba Regency, where the small-scale biogas and solar water pump is actually exclusively located and used by some people in Lukuwingir, whereas the micro hydro is used by both villages. Yeah, next please. And I would like to explain a little bit regarding the references that we use here in relation to the framework or the method that we use in this study. First is reference regarding the rural energy business model. This model help identify the sustainability for the business, especially in the rural energy system. And we use the business model canvas actually, which contain 9 aspects, but 3 main aspects of the model is the value proposition, which investigate what are the interaction between the companies or the business and the consumers, what are the services offered to the consumer that has a selling value and can generate profits. And the second component is value creation and how it is delivered, how the value or profits are created by the new businesses, and also how it is operated or delivered. And the last component is value capture to ensure the financial sustainability of the company. And this reference is actually quite general in terms of it's not only used, it's usually used by a company also. So therefore, we need to use another reference to employ this kind of method in the context of rural community. So on the next slide, we also use the reference regarding community-based renewable energy development. So usually in a community-based renewable energy development, there are 4 dimensions that can determine the success of the implementation. The first is the community awareness, the interest of the community regarding the program, and then the local human capital. Usually this is the quality of the human capital, or sometimes it's measured by the Human Development Index. The third one is the capacity building. How can we increase the capacity of the local human capital and also raise the community awareness? And the fourth component or dimension is the multi-stakeholder collaboration. How do the community collaborate with other pertinent stakeholders? And the third related reference is the probably this is almost the same and related with the previous one regarding the community involvement and the community capacity. So there are four major strategies in building the community efforts or building the community capacity in regards to whatever project implement in that community. So the first one is the leadership, and then the second is the organizational development and the community organizing, and the last one is fostering inter-organizational relations. So basically this is almost, yes.
You have about 5 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. I will then let's go to the next slide, please. Yes, and for the methodology, this study is more or less qualitative study. We use, of course, the previous data from our 2009 study. And in addition to that, we also have online interview and also help by the local surveyor in interviewing the village major of or the Kepala Desa, and then officials from Bapeda and State Electricity Company, and also from our previous interview with the NGOs. Next, please. Okay, this is the brief profile about the rural community renewable energy in Sumba, in both of the village. I think I already explained this earlier, so maybe we can skip to the next slide. Yes, so the first that we analyze the business model, especially in the O&M phase, the community business model in Lukuwinger and Waimbidi using the business model canvas. So this table is actually a common common table that or common framework that we use to analyze the business model in both villages, especially by local communities where the O&M is performed by the local communities. There are several key partners. We identify several key partners here that involve, and also the key activities and the customers, also the customer segments and the customers relationship. And the value proposition or the proposed value here is the cheap electricity, and also biogas electricity or gas from biogas and solar water pumps. And yeah, so this is the first analysis. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. And from another aspects, we took two cases or two aspects in regards with the management of the micro hydro. First, we take a look from the financing management aspects, where there is a little lack of a little problem here where on the financing side, although there's an agreement of from these two villages on a joint bill, but yeah, sometimes the collected bill or collected tariff is smaller than the operational cost. So there is some sort of gap on the financial side. In terms of physical aspects, actually the both village has appointed local people to carry out the maintenance, and also if there is a greater problem, they can ask the local company or local organization like PT Resco to provide assistance. And they also have a public communication using the village development forums. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So what are the lessons learned from the business model and that perform in these two villages? First is that the sense of community found is created created based on the shared interest to gain access to electricity. And yeah, the sense of community here is built also through the local regular local meeting group. The next one is the commitment shared by the local community. There is they see themselves. And next slide, please. Yeah, they see themselves as the stakeholders responsible for the collecting the bills, the electricity bills, and they have representative to collect and manage the bills for that. And the access to resource, they have access to resource, although to gain help if they found obstacles caused by physical problem, such as technical repairs or carrying out the maintenance. And the ability in solving problems on the community is essential, and they have instrument to solve the problems in form of village development forums and regular meetings, sometimes weekly and monthly, to discuss the common problems. Although, of course, not all of the existing problems can be resolved immediately. For the conclusion, we found that implementation and management of the micro hydro power plant and also other renewable energy system in both villages are already involved the local community, and they have quite a strong sense of community by regularly holding public communication events. Also, although in terms of business model, there are some obstacles regarding the availability and sustainability of the funding. Although the funding, beside they collect from the consumers, they also can use the village fund to help the funding of the operation. And also the community building efforts can help enhance the community participation in both village and increase the leadership development and also the organizational relation in both village. So I think that's all from me. I'm sorry if there's some sort of lag in the presentation, but I hope maybe if there's some sort of question, we can discuss it later. Thank you, Pa Yuda. I give back to you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Dr. Niken. Terima kasih banyak. Now I see that Cheng is back. Cheng? Are you here?
Yes.
So I would like to invite you again to continue your presentation.
Okay, maybe this time Nadia can play the slides for me in case there's any unexpected accidents.
Sure, Cheng. Marta will help you.
Okay. Okay, so Cheng, the screen is yours.
So please go to, I think, the page 7 or page 6. Scroll down, please. Yeah, scroll down, please. Next. Okay. Can you put the full screen for?
Since since this is a PDF file, I think this is only the best preview that I can share. If I will zoom out a bit, so I can so maybe you can read all of
Okay.
the.
Yeah. I think.
Okay.
That's all right. Okay.
Is it
so
clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have talked about the method we use, the choice experiment, and this page presents the 4 attributes and the attribute levels we use to design our experiment. Next page, please. So here we present an example of the choice cards. So you can see in each choice card we gave respondent actually 3 options. 2 options are combinations of the 4 attributes at different levels, and then if they don't like any of them, they can choose one of them. Could you scroll down a little bit? I have another line. So for each respondent, we gave them 12 choice cards in the survey, so they will make 12 choices, and their answers will be used by statistical analysis to elicit their preference for those attributes and their willingness to pay for improvement in those attributes. And next page, please. So our survey have chosen Sumba Island as the case study because it is a typical example of remote areas in developing countries. In 2010, the per capita income in Sumba was just a quarter of the national level. In the last decade, the electrification rate in Sumba has increased from less than 25% to almost 75%, thanks to the Sumba iconic island. But there are some villages are still using relative low quality of electricity services. So our survey implementation in Sumba, we have surveyed 18 villages across 4 districts. We interviewed a total of 399 valid, actually 400 households with 399 valid questionnaires. And the percentage of households in each district follow the percentage of population in those attributes. We ask respondents to answer the choice cards, and we also ask some questions about the demographic and socioeconomic situations. Next page, please. This is the economic model we use to estimate the willingness to pay. Basically, we have using 2 major models based on the random utility theory. We use a conditional logic model and the random parameter logic model. We also introduced interaction terms between the attributes and the household characteristic to try to understand the source of the heterogeneity among the households willing to pay. Next page, please. So let's, a little down a bit. The 5 research results. Should go next page, please. Okay, so yes, So here I present some of the household characteristics. I think the most noticeable result is that we can see that East Sumba households in our survey sample, at least in our survey sample, had quite higher average income than the other 3 districts, especially the Central Sumba district. And on average, the on-grade households also had higher income than the off-grade households. Another result that is worth noticing is that in our sample, we have almost 60% of people collected the main grade, which is the national grade PLM. And we have small groups of people using mini grade, home solar systems, and accumulators. And there are almost 20% of people who still haven't any electricity supply. So our sample covered quite a diverse groups of people in different situations of the electricity access. Next page, please. So the most important research results from our survey are the estimation of household willingness to pay for different attributes. So we can see that households in the whole sample and in the 6 subsamples, which are the on-grade, off-grade subsamples and the 4 district subsamples, we estimate the willingness to pay for daily supply hours, and they all have shown significant estimation results. And the most noticeable results are that we can see on-grade households showed larger willingness to pay than off-grade households, and Eastern Sumba households showed larger willingness to pay than the rest of the 3 districts. Next page, please. So here we present the household willingness to pay for avoiding the unplanned power cuts. There are 2 levels, once a week and twice a week. Something interesting here is that we found for quite a few subgroups, households do not show significant preference for avoiding these power cuts, these 2 frequencies power cuts, which means they can bear it. They don't care too much about it, and they don't want to pay, don't really want to pay for avoiding these power cuts. Again, we can see that on-grade households have higher willingness to pay than the off-grade households, which are highlighted in the green color. So next page, please. So the last attribute is the diversity of appliances, which signal the power capacity of using high power or medium power appliances. For these attributes, all subgroups and the whole sample have shown significant willingness to pay. And similarly with the results from the other 2 attributes, we can see that on-grade households again showed higher willingness to pay, and the East Sumba households showed much higher willingness to pay than the rest of the 3 districts. Next page, please. So here is a table showing the significance of interaction terms with the attributes and the socioeconomic characteristics of households. These results help us to understand the source of the heterogeneity in household preference. We will see what do these results mean in the next page, please. So basically, the results in the table above indicate the following results. First of all, we found that respondents above 60 years old had stronger preference for longer power supply duration and a stronger aversion to higher electricity fees. Secondly, households with higher annual income showed stronger aversion to unplanned, unexpected power cuts, but there was a little difference between once a week and twice a week. Thirdly, we found that female respondents showed significantly stronger preference for greater diversity of appliances, although the difference between the median and high level was not significant. And lastly, we found that respondents with higher educational level were more tolerant of the increase in monthly electricity fees. Next page, please. So our research results have opened several topics of discussion. The first topic is about the electricity service quality beyond the reliability. Our results indicate that the reliability, which means avoiding power cuts, which is the most studied attribute in literature. However, we found that it is neither the most significant nor the most valued attribute to Sumba households. These results imply that efforts to improve the quality of electricity services should consider multiple attributes beyond the reliability. The second topic is the implications of developing renewable energy mini-grids. Our results showed in general, households in Sumba show significant willingness to pay for improving the electricity services. So we can argue that actually it is acceptable to establish some more expensive but with high quality service in Sumba to replace some of the relatively low quality providing facilities like home solar systems. Secondly, our preference estimation results show that increasing the peak power capacity and the supply duration is more significant than the attributes of reducing power cuts. So in practice, if we have limited resources to improve all the attributes of electricity services, we can prioritize the peak power capacity and the supply duration over the reducing the unplanned power cuts. And certainly, although we say that reliability is neither the most significant nor the most valued, however, it is still important because some households still show significant preference for improving the reliability. So we argue that the multi-source renewable energy mini-grids could be a solution to improve the reliability of electricity service. Next page, please. So the next topic for discussion is the implications of the heterogeneity in households' willingness to pay, as we found in our modeling results. First, we argue that the district disparity in household income and the willingness to pay suggests the need to consider the district equality. We can see that it seems Sumba households have higher income and higher willingness to pay, while Central Sumba has particularly low income and willingness to pay. And the future efforts should try to address these district equality issues. Secondly, we found difference between on-grid households and off-grid households. And we found that on-grid households showed higher income and higher willingness to pay. So this result implies a positive dynamic between electricity access, household income, and electricity demand, which means somehow we improve the electricity access, we have better chance to increase household income, which in turn will increase household demand for better electricity services. And lastly,
you have about 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Lastly, we found that female households show significant stronger preference for using medium and high power appliances. This result indicate a linkage between the Sustainable Development Goal 7, which is universal energy access, and the SDG 5, which is the gender equality. Next page, please. Scroll up a little bit, last one. And the last one. Yeah, the last one, please. Scroll up, please. Yeah, yes, here. Okay, the last topic is about applying choice experiment with the multi-type framework. So we demonstrate a new application of the multi-type framework, which is to use the attributes, adopt the attributes from this framework in the choice experiment. Our result of the marginal willingness to pay for individual attributes can be aggregated to calculate the household willingness to pay for upgrades between different tiers of electricity services. For example, I calculate the willingness to pay to improve the electricity service from tier 1 to tier 3, which range between 75,000 ruby to 123,000 ruby per month in Sumba on average. Next, such kind of information, such kind of willingness to pay for different tiers of electricity services can be used to design service-based tariffs. Service-based tariffs can offer higher cost option to customers who show low willingness to pay for poor quality of power supply, but are willing to pay more for better services. In the meantime, we can keep low cost option for basic power services for more deprived households. And we can also apply the cross subsidies from the well-off customers to the deprived ones using these service-based tariffs to address the equality issue. Next page, please. Okay, in the end, let's briefly review what I have talked about today. First, we applied a choice experiment on a multi-type framework of energy access. Secondly, we found that power reliability was less preferred than supply duration and appliance diversity. Third, we found on-grid users had higher demand for better electricity services than off-grid ones. Next, we found that gender, age, education, and income were significant demographic variables. And lastly, we showed that our results can help to plan rural electrification, especially in terms of designing the electricity tariffs. Next, please. Last of the last, let's finish my presentation with photos during my field work in Sumba. And thanks again for RDI colleagues to organize the field work, and thanks for our co-authors in Sumba Island to support our field work and support our publication efforts. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Cheng Wen, for your presentations. Now, I know we are a bit late, so let's just invite Dr. Adipapa first, and then Ibu Maya the second for our discussion session. Dr. Adipapa, if you have your comments ready for the speakers. Screen is yours. Masih di mute, Pak Adik?
Sudah, bisa, Pak?
Oke. Silakan, Pak.
Tes. Bisa?
Yes.
Halo?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Terdengar, Pak.
Ya. Oke, ya. Terima kasih buat kesempatannya. Pertama-tama terima kasih buat tim RDI sudah membawa kami di dalam penelitian ini, dan bagaimana orang lokal bisa masuk dan mendalami ya. Ini luar biasa sekali. Tapi yang pertama-tama saya mengomentari, saya pikir yang mohon maaf, yang saya pakai bahasa Indonesia saja, Mas Yudaya, mohon ditranslate. Apa saya langsung apa?
Langsung,
silakan. Atau langsung masih nanti diterjemahkan? Kira-kira?
Boleh. Kalau Bapak nyamannya pakai bahasa Indonesia, biar lebih akurat, tidak apa-apa pakai bahasa Indonesia. Nanti saya coba yang translate, Pak.
Oh, siap. Ya, saya coba memberi bahasan dari ketiga, saya coba rangkum ya dari ketiga pembicara tadi. Yang pertama tadi memang dari kondisi terkini saat ini dengan proyek-proyek yang berbasis energi terbarukan dalam program Sumba Island, memang pada saat ini per hari ini memang hampir semuanya, kebanyakannya itu tidak berjalan dengan baik, dan malah kemarin proyek kami dari MCI itu proyek yang ada di selatan itu terkait energi panel surya itu memang semua tidak berjalan baik karena kontrak dengan Bappenas dan juga Pemda yang macet, apalagi dengan pandemi ya, dengan skenario penyerahan ke Pemda, bisnis model panel pemanfaatan panel surya itu untuk masyarakat. Nah, saya mungkin mengomentari tadi antara penyediaan provider dan beneficiary dari Mas Hafiz tadi, memang kita tahu bersama bahwa Sumba ini saat ini memang 80%, semua Sumba ya, 80% masyarakatnya tinggal di pedesaan, dan saya sangat setuju sekali, itu sesuai dengan yang kami rasakan bahwa 80% itu adalah masyarakat-masyarakat yang subsisten. Nah, oleh karena itu memang kalau tadi dikatakan bahwa provider itu karakteristik ininya lebih kompleks, connectednya, sedangkan masyarakat itu beneficiarnya lebih sederhana. Mungkin saya tambahkan bahwa masyarakat Sumba sesungguhnya menggunakan energi listrik itu secara parsial. Jadi bukan aja dalam sisi tidak melulu ya, tidak melulu dia menggunakan listrik itu untuk kebutuhan bisnis. Tapi kalau menurut kami ya sebagian besar mungkin digunakan untuk kebutuhan budaya dalam keseharian, baik itu anak, pembicaraan budaya di malam hari ketika acara adat, dan saya pikir tidak banyak memang untuk saat ini yang menggunakan listrik itu untuk kepentingan bisnis. Dan saya pikir ini juga yang menjadi kesulitan kami pemerintah daerah ketika semua ya ini ya ada ya saya harus terbuka ya bagaimana kami menengahi antara PLN yang kami harapkan dalam tanda kutip ya, yang kami harapkan untuk membantu di dalam program SI, tetapi juga PLN sendiri ya kami rasa bagaimana mereka setengah hati untuk melihat bahwa masyarakat Sumba ini yang sebagian besar willingness to pay-nya sangat rendah, dan juga ya itulah yang sangat subsisten. Memang beberapa kali kami temukan bahwa di saat proyek MCI atau proyek sejenisnya membangun jaringan, di saat yang sama juga PLN juga di sebelahnya membangun. Jadi memang kenapa saya bilang setengah hati, padahal kami berharap PLN sesungguhnya sebagai representasi pemerintah walaupun bisnis proses, tetapi tidak melihat Sumba itu dalam framework, dalam kerangka bahwa masyarakatnya yang subsisten tadi. Nah, saya pikir ini saja tambahan dari saya, Mas Yuda. Terima kasih, Mas Yuda.
Pak Adipapa, let me try to interpret that to English. First, that many of the project is not running well due to COVID-19 pandemic. Especially the business model for solar is not working very well as well. And in terms of the providers and beneficiaries topicnya Pak Hafiz, yes, 80% of the communities are subsystem communities. And actually, Sumba Island communities are only partially use the power for businesses. And most of them use the electricity for daily use and cultural events. And the Sumba Island communities are expecting that PLN is, they expect that PLN can help to solve these situations and help Sumba Islands communities. But instead, PLN has their own interests at the moment. So that these 2 points are the summary of what Bapak Adipapa has expressed his comment. So thank you, Pak Adipapa, for the constructive comments. And we will move on to Ibu Maya. Ibu Maya, if you are ready.
Yes, thank you, Pak Yuda. So a bit introduction and as well as a bit clarification of what Ibu Elizabeth has mentioned earlier. I Maya from Yayasan HIFOS actually is not certainly the initiator of the program, because indeed HIFOS was one of the initiator back then in 2010. So it is HIFOS and not me. And as one of the initiator of the program back in 2010, we then started the initiation with a more thorough or comprehensive assessment for the island's potential as the renewable energy based island. Sumba Island itself is foreseeable as 100% renewable energy island. And there is a shared vision of HIFOS, which then widely shared to other stakeholders, which then in 2015, it has been fully acknowledged and adopted as national program, which then the coordination is fully led by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. So the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has led the coordination and the communication of the multi-stakeholders in the program, because it's not only HIFOS and it's not only the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources who are in the program. It also consists of PLN, and the PLN itself is varies from the PLN from the headquarters up until the PLN in the regional level. And the program also involves all regional government, the provincial government, as well as the 4 district government of Sumba Island. And not only those, these also includes the engagement of international organizations, donors, embassies. So shortly, there has been so many different and varied actors who have chipped in and play a great contribution to the successful of Sumba Island program. While for HIFOS itself, not only we as the initiator, in the Sumba Island program, we support the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources as the national secretariat of the program. And in addition to that, HIFOS is also the project implementers who contributes to the achievement of the electrification ratio and the renewable energy mix in the on the island. So those are a bit of background that I would like to reiterate, because I don't know, I'm not sure that everyone here is already well familiarized with the background of the program. Okay, moving on to the my comments towards the presentation. Firstly, I would like to appreciate the study and the result of the study presented by the team in RDI. It's been a long journey indeed, and we finally come to an end. And hopefully, this study can bring more to the not only to the successful of the program, but can bring tangible benefits to the people on the island. Okay, firstly, I will come to Pak Cheng's presentation. Yes, indeed, the willingness to pay is what is very much in line with the income and etc. And yes, of course, the more service that we give to the community, they surely will be more than happy to pay more. However, there are certain how you call it, yeah. There are certain aspects, or there are other factors that should be taken into account in counting the willingness to pay, because in Sumba, cash is not always available in the people. So even though they say, yes, we are able to pay this amount, yes, we can pay you more, but in fact, cash is not always available, and most likely it is seasonal. So most of the time they can pay the service is during the harvesting season, and for the rest of the year, it is unlikely that they will be able to pay. So based on our experiences, it is always safer to count on the average, and to always check again, is this number okay for you? So we cannot always come with one number, but we always test for different level of numbers. Like for example, starting from 50,000, then ranging from 20,000 to 30,000 rupiahs, and then we finally come to a conclusion. And it's not always the process of getting the numbers of willingness to pay it doesn't always come in one shot. It could take up to months, and it could take up to different negotiation and different business model approach that we keep continuously talking with the people in the community. So that is one, the money is seasonal. And secondly, a currency, because cash is not always available in the village. Most of the time we have to think of other currency than cash. And since most of them are doing agricultural, so we need to be creative to make other currency, like for instance, whether they can pay us in the form of candle nuts, or in the form of other type of agricultural products. So and if we finally agreed on this amount of willingness to pay or affordability to pay, indeed it has to be the next step, that it has to be packaged, or it has to be concluded with a transparent and accountable business agreement with the community, because it's one sort of guarantee that we can do with the people of the village. And moving on to Pak Hafid's presentation, yes, indeed that expectation is not won't always be the same as perceived. But based on our experiences in delivering several energy projects, small-scale energy projects in the island, that is why we think that is why we conduct again and again different type of assessment, and we always try to cross-check and to recheck again the answers, and to recheck again the expectations versus reality. Because even though we have combined all knowledge, all theories, be it under energy delivery model, be it under the community participation theory or community engagement theory, at the end of the day, we always have to test again the needs of the people. Because at the end of the day, most of our comprehensive assessment does not always result to the needs of energy. Most of the time, even people in Sumba does not always answer or respond that yes, they need energy, they need electricity. In our cases, it could be one of the top priority of their needs could be water, and it is not based on years of experience, it's no longer a shock to us, because apparently water is more crucial to them rather than provision of electricity. And in addition to water, actually they expect to have more cattle, they expect to have more cows, pigs, what else, horses, because apparently they will bring more pride to them rather than having electricity. So a good or comprehensive assessment combined with perfect value propositions, and it is then we can expect that we can closely manage the expectation of the community. Lastly, on Ibu Niken's presentation, to be honest, Bu, actually, in our case,
Umaya, check.
found the station. Even though we have, yes, we have equipped them with so many capacity buildings or trainings or technical and non-technical, because at the end of the day they are not PLN. They don't learn the installation like we do. They don't build the installation like PLN do. That is why HIFOS finally come across to initiate the establishment of RESCO on the island back in 2017. Yeah, but still, based on our experiences in terms of operations and management, there are several lessons learned that we'd like to share with you. First thing first is there is actually, in terms of the provision of small-scale renewable energy access to people, there is no such thing as one size fits all. Every community is different, every technology is different, and every people on the island is unique. So that is why different approach, different business model, different willingness to pay must be always tested. Yeah, and secondly, capacity building is a must. Although we have given them or we have provided them the installation, it always needs to be equipped with customized capacity building to ensure that not only they use it for productive use of economic activity, but to ensure the sustainability of the installation. So and with the capacity building, it still needs to be equipped with a proper or customized business model, and the customized business model needs always to be equipped with the legal framework of the business and entity in the community. And to ensure the operation and management of the installation, it is a good if we can have a local champion from the community to ensure the community engagement and participation. And lastly, there is a good lesson learned that gender and inclusivity must always be integrated in our approach of throughout the project implementation, because in our cases, most likely a business that is managed and owned by a female, they have a strong, how do you call it? Yeah, they have a strong or high percentage that the business will likely to succeed. Yeah, and sadly, HIFOS as an organization, we have the privilege of we can do all this package of intervention with the community. But sadly, not all of this approach, for example, the capacity building, the gender and inclusivity approach, the again and again assessment of comprehensive and thorough assessment can be done in all project cycle, especially those who are those which are conducted by the project owned by the government or owned by the PLN. That is why we say in the beginning, there is no such thing as one size fits all, and the variable and the success factors could be very much different from one place to another. Yeah, I think that would be all, and I'm happy to respond to any further questions or clarification. Back to you, Pak Yuda.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Maya. Now let's have our response from the speakers. We'll start with Cheng first. Dr. Cheng.
Yeah, thanks very much for the feedback from the two discussants. And I think for Dr. Adi's comments about the use of electricity for ceremony, I think Hafez, the PhD, is going to address this issue and this intangible benefits. And I think, yeah, that's something we are going to do in the future or in the near future. And I'm very thankful for Himayati to bring the practical experience and lessons to our academic research. And I agree that all the points that she raised, and I think it's particularly important to mention that the money is seasonal, so and the cash is not always available. So yes, actually a few of choice experiment studies try to use the in-kind payment as the payment vehicle to estimate the willing space. So yes, that's indeed a very important point. And yeah, that's also actually make me think about how to try to consider these seasonal issues, these seasonal payments in the design of choice experiment in the future. And yeah, and I also agree that well, we have this saying that all models are wrong. Some of them are useful. So our for our academic research, we use models to get some results, but in order to apply these results in real life, indeed we need experience from the local communities. We need the as Himayati said, need to test, need to conversation with the local communities again and again. And yeah, I totally agree with that. And of course, we all agree that there is no one size fit all solution to rural electrification. And I think Sumba Island, iconic island, provide a variety of case studies as presented by making different business models. And that's why I think there is still a lot of work to do regarding the renewable energy development in Sumba Island. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cheng. We move to Dr. Nikan first.
Yes, okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I have to run to another meeting, so I would like to thank for the responses from Pak Adi Papa and Bu Maya. As a brief response, I also agree that there's no one size fits all. Especially that in Sumba Island, the renewable energy systems installed in each village and each community are different to one another, and also the stakeholders involved in that village are also different. So yeah, of course, there would be some differences in terms of operation and maintenance, and also the business models. And actually, for the study itself, we found there are 4 different O&M models in Sumba from our 2009 studies, but on this study we only took one type of the O&M, where the role of the local community is more prominent, and then analyze that particular type using the business canvas model. So that is why yeah, probably it's a very specific case only covered two village or two community in Lukuwingir and Waimbidi. And yeah, I also thank Bu Maya for the insights, especially regarding the role of the gender, which is yeah, of course, very interesting. And maybe yeah, this is not covered in our study, but it's still a very interesting information. And thank you also for Pa Adipapa for the insight regarding the characteristic of the local people, especially which they value more on the other than electricity. Probably they still count as the cattle as a very important thing for the livelihood. Yes, maybe that's all from me. Thank you for the discussion. I give back to Pak Yuda.
Right, thank you, Niken. And we just heard that you have to leave for other meetings. So thank you very
Yes.
much for your participation in this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity. Hope we can meet again another time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Now I would like to invite Pak Hafiz for your response of the feedback. Silakan, Pak.
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you for Pa Adi for the comments. It's just confirmed that the Sumba community mostly doing a subsistence economy, and it influences how they use the electricity and how they respond to the opportunity of having more connection. For Ibu Maya, it's a good insight for me actually, for the research as well, that that indeed the social norms or the values of the villagers influence how they use the electricity. For, as you said, that they prefer to have more cattle instead of electricity. So that's that will be my homework to explore deeper about what makes them what is behind their perception, and what actually makes them choose the cattle instead of electricity. And yes, it's a good insight for me. And yeah, I just want to express my agreement to Ibu Maya that everything has to be like an iterative process, that you have to do the assessment and get the results in periodically to test whether your expectation is perceived well by the community. And my research is just one of the methods that measures how the community perceives compared to what they are expected to be. Yes, yeah, that's all of my comment, and thank you very much for the insights.
Okay, thank you, Hafiz. Now we have several questions from the participant, both in YouTube and also in this Zoom room. The first question is to Mr. Wibisono. So, Pak Hafiz, ya. It is in Indonesian, bahasa Indonesia. Bagaimana mengakomodasi perbedaan keinginan pemasangan listrik antara masyarakat dan provider, di mana masyarakat lebih menginginkan pencahayaan, sementara provider lebih menginginkan penyediaan listrik bagi small businesses. So maybe you can respond this in English. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for the question. Should I answer it in English or in Indonesia?
Maybe in English is better.
Okay, so the question was how to accommodate the difference between the provider and the beneficiaries. So as Ibu Maya said, that the expectation itself has to be adjusted accordingly. I mean, it has to be adjusted periodically, and the assessment has to be not only at the beginning of the project, but it's in the middle of the project and in 20 years after the project, for example. And our research confirms that even though some of the project has been almost 10 years or maybe more than 10 years, that this issue has not been solved. So there will still be an issue in this. So I would suggest, according to my research, that how to accommodate it, and the communication is always a perfect solution. I mean, the provider needs to listen, as Ibu Maya said, that HIFOs always listen what the community said, and the community's health needs to express what they want, so that the two-way communication is exist. Then yes, I just want to mention that that there is no such thing like for the provider, from the provider side, we can't tell the community to do ABC without considering what they are actually do. So how to accommodate? So just listen and do a periodic assessment about it, and there is no such thing like a fixed programs that is formulated in the beginning, but it just always been an iterative process. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Habibs.
Yuda, can I add something here, Pak?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I just want to add a bit to what Pak Hafid had mentioned. Yes, indeed, sometimes we do have expectation of what the project would look like, because we have certain outcomes or goals and certain objectives to what we have to achieve there. But apparently, when we come into the village, it is most of the time it is not the same. It is not the same case to the villagers. And as I mentioned earlier, most of the time it may not be electricity, it may be water, or it may be cattle. But if the potential is really there, if we found a good renewable energy potential on the site, and we believe that if we deliver the energy on the site, it will be benefiting to the community. So one of the most possible way that we need to conduct is we have to educate the people. So we need to persuade them, and we need to tell them what will be the benefit, what will they get out of it. And we ask them to envision what their life would look like in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or up to 10 or 20 years. In that way, it will be a shared vision, not only by us, but the vision is shared throughout the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Maya. And now let's take another question from the audience. From Sarah, question to all speakers. What can we conclude from your findings regarding accelerating RE, renewable energy, in rural areas? Is your finding applicable to all areas? So this is a bit larger from Sumba Island. So it's maybe rural areas, probably in all Indonesia. Can we conclude something for rural areas in Indonesia? Maybe to Cheng Wen first.
Yes, I think this is a good question. Also, it will be difficult to just say a few words about the conclusion that can be applied to all developing all rural areas. I have listed several conclusions in my slides, such as we need to address the quality of electricity service, not just whether household get a collection or not, because a simple collection with only electricity for lighting will not change too much of the life of the households. So, and I also address that there are some attributes that are not well studied yet for rural areas. The most literature on the willingness to pay for the electricity service focused on reducing power cuts, partly because the early studies start from developed countries. They normally have 24 hours supply, occasionally have some power cuts. So their study focus on that. However, in the rural areas, which do not have 24 hours supply at present, it is more important to understand their demand for how long or how many hours electricity there will be electricity for them for each day, and whether their electricity can be used to power some more advanced appliances. So there is a difference between the developed countries and even between the urban areas and the rural areas in developing countries. So that's kind of second point, that we need to consider some attributes or some aspects of electricity services that are particularly relevant to the context of rural areas. And then some suggestions like as many we have mentioned several times also by Himayati, that the gender equality issue should be integrated into the rural electrification efforts, just as we found that women can be particularly benefiting from improved electricity services. I think that there are more we can discuss in details, and if the audiences are interested, I recommend they to read the paper we published. There are more discussion in the paper. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chingwen. And they can always send an email to you, yeah?
Yes, of course.
Okay, Pak Hafid, silakan.
Yes. What we can conclude, I mean, so I want to stress two points here. Firstly, our research has demonstrated the use of the methodology, how to measure the extent to which the message is accepted, the message is perceived by the community, so that the development actor can use the method to do the evaluation, or at the beginning of the project to gather all the perception of the communities. Firstly, the method has been well used by the development project in all over the world to recognize the perception, or the how people see some things, how people conceptualize some issues in their mind. So it's gonna be beneficial for that. And the second thing is more to the development actors. I mean, including the government, the NGOs, or other actors that want to involve in establishing electricity in the village areas. I would suggest that there is no need to impose certain idea or narration to the community, because it's not gonna be it's not gonna be success for the long term. I just want to state it what has been written in the Sumba Iconic Island 2018 progress report, and written by the Dagi Consulting, and they said that most of the projects were not doing well, or some projects are abandoned because of it doesn't meet what is actually needed by the community. What I saw is they try to impose a certain idea, a certain narration of electricity to the community by coming to the village, say we want to build something, and so you have to do ABC, and we have to hand over the power plant after it is established, and you have to do ABC. We're going to train you with certain capabilities, and you are on your own. So it's not gonna work. And like Ibu Maya said, that you have to bring to the you have to take into account the community perspective. You have to raise up what they want and how they imagine themselves in the next several years. So that's that will be a mutual agreement, a shared project. And even if it is possible, just make a participatory program formulation, for example, or and always the periodically assessment. It will also beneficial to evaluate the way they perceive the expectation, and also it's got to be beneficial to adjust the expectation as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Hafid, for your response. And with that, we come to the end of our discussion sessions. And actually, we are at the end of our webinar. But before that, I think I have a message from the operator that we have to take a photo first. So maybe if everybody can open their cam, so we can take a picture before the closing statement of this webinar. Okay, Nadia, can you guide us with the photo session?
Yes, thank you, Pak Yuda. Again, thank you very much for all the our honorable speakers, moderators, Pak Yuda, and discussion, Bu Maya and Pak Adipapa, also Prof. John Lovet, Bu Elizabeth, and Pak Saud Sagala for supporting us to conduct today's event. And Marta, could you please help me to take a screen capture, and I will count 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. So now we are moving on the closing sessions. So on behalf of RDI and all the participants and all the people who are preparing these sessions, I would like to thank you all the speakers, Dr. Cheng, Dr. Pak Hafiz, and also Bu Niken. And also I would like to thank Dr. Adipapa and Bu Maya. Thank you for the useful comments and feedbacks. Thank you also for all the participants of this webinar. And some closing statements. We still need a lot of things to understand the mechanics and dynamics of renewable energy and electrification implementation in Sumba Island, especially from the willingness to pay, which in line with the income of the communities, the complexity of beneficiaries and providers' interests that need to be addressed, and also to find the most appropriate business model for implementation so that we can come to a better program, a better policy regarding RE and electrification, especially in Sumba Island and more generally in rural areas in Indonesia. We hope that the effort to improve Sumba Island's renewable energy acceptance and development will improve in terms of efficiency and its effectivity in the coming future. And I see that some audience would like to contact our speakers. You can always do that by reaching out to RDI contacts. Yeah. So with this, I close the webinar for today. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Pak Saud,
ya,
Bu
Pak
Elizabeth, Pak Yuda,
Bu
pamit
Maya.
ya.
Thank you,
Thank
Mbak
you.
Maya.
Bye, Cheng.
Bye.
Thank you,
Yeah, bye.
Cheng,
Thank you.
John.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Oh iya, Pak John. John.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your fantastic talks.
See you all when I see you. Bye.
Hopefully in Sumba one day.
Yeah, should be in Sumba soon. I hope soon.
Sehat-sehat ya semuanya.
Thank
Wishing you all in healthy and
Bye.
Bye.